Hey guys, Matt is so excited to speak with Karrion Kross today. Make sure that you guys check out and pre-order his biography, Life is Fighting. You can get it on Amazon. The link is in the description. Thanks. Enjoy this conversation. It's a really good one. Today's guest on the Matt Serra Show, Karrion Kross.
Welcome to the show, the great Karrion Kross. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy that you're here. We made this happen. Let's talk about how this got started here. How we got you here.
All right.
So, you know, my producer Christian, he tells me forever to reach out to people, and I'm one of those guys that I don't want to bother nobody. And he's like, it's not going to be a bother. They want to talk to you. I got to it. I don't want to talk to me. I don't know. So I'm a little shy. So then he's like, look, he's pointing out some people. He goes, Karrion Kross is liking some of your stuff on the Instagram. Right, Christian?
Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah.
And I go, I don't, he might just be a nice guy. I don't want to bother him. And then I seen you with my longtime friend and longtime black belt, Zach Fowler, doing Jiu-Jitsu.
Yep.
And I go, fuck. I go, Zach. I go, do you know Karrion Kross? And he's like, oh, yeah. His name's Kevin. He's a really nice guy, really good Jiu-Jitsu, solid brown belt. I go, fucking brown belt. I go, no. And Christian, just so you know,
Yeah.
you hear brown belt and something else, it could be anything. Now, if you hear somebody that got a purple belt in Jiu-Jitsu, you know that. If somebody got a purple belt, you right away, you go, okay, this is a guy he trains. He's serious. A blue belt is good, but a lot of guys could quit after blue belt because purple's is, that could be far off. So I knew you were legit, and I go, all right, look, he does Jiu-Jitsu, and that's when I shot you the message. And right away, Christian, he answered back. I felt so, that's
great.
I get nervous. I go, I don't want to, this guy, am I bothering this guy?
Well, it wouldn't make sense that a guy that is studying jiu-jitsu wouldn't respond to Matt Serra.
Well,
Thank you. Yeah, come on now.
it was wild. And you were so nice when you got back to me. And then I know, you told me you're in Florida. So I go, look, we could do this virtually. You're like, nah, man, I'll take a trip out. I go, dude, I'm fucking flattered. Dude, last night I go to my daughter. I go, Angelina, get him the smokers. Get him everything up there, all the shirts, something. Yeah. Fucking, can you please make me feel good about this guy flying out? But I'm happy you're here, man. I'm happy you're here. And I wanted to, listen, we're going to talk jiu-jitsu. I want to talk comics. I want to talk some movies. Yep. Before that, I want to talk about your origin story because it's funny. Because he's almost like a superhero. Last night, he was rolling last night, and today I saw one of my fighters, Tommy DeGennaro, he came there for the morning class. He goes, young Jason, one of the kids you rolled with last night. He goes, young Jason said there was a guy in here last night that beat his ass that looked like Aquaman. That looked like Aquaman. I go, oh, fuck. I go, you probably get through the airport sometimes like I get, can I have a picture? And they think I'm fucking Joe Rogan or Dana White. I go, fucking, right? There's all us bald guys. But listen, you got to be compared to anybody. Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Fucking A. That's not the worst thing in the world.
Absolutely not.
But it does happen.
All the time.
It happens all the time. Poor young Jason. He was the nice skin. He was one of he's a tall, skinny kid you rolled with. Sweet kid. It's so funny. He's a tall kid. When I moved into my house when I first got the championship, there's a little kid playing basketball across the street, like up to my waist, just smiling. Same kid, just stretched out now. He finally got to train in jiu-jitsu. And I love it because that kid's dangerous, and he's a skinny kid. Do you remember the kid I'm talking about?
Of course,
skinny kid, smiling. He had and very unassuming. This kid had there was a backyard party, and this was a couple of years ago, and he was training, and it was just before he got his blue belt. Some knucklehead kid wanted to try him out, put him to sleep in a triangle. It was one of my young Jason. Oh, bravo. It was because the kid was a meathead, like a meathead drunk, being like, trying to see if that stuff works. So it was amazing. But where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Rockland County.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I grew up in Rockland County, not very far from West Point. And I lived all over New York, but I spent most of my time there. And then, I've lived all over the place. But, my father was a wrestler. And then he just transitioned into jiu-jitsu and all forms of grappling, catch, and all that stuff. So initially I was trained by my dad, and that's where my love of all this kind of came from.
Your dad was a professional wrestler, or did he do the amateur wrestling?
I'm pretty sure he won a silver medal in the Pan Am Games for Puerto Rico back in '89 or '91. I was so young, I can't remember.
Wild.
But yeah, he was always into combat sports, and yeah, I mean, you probably met him. His name's Ted Concepcion.
I might have.
Probably. Like when UFC first started blowing up, he was all about it, but he kept getting these knee injuries, so he wasn't able to train full time. So he started training fighters. Like, he's very close with Rico Rodriguez. He was around Frank.
I know Rico very well.
Back when Frank and Heath were training in Vegas under a guy named Ricardo, he was in that circle of people.
Ricardo Perez.
Yes.
Yeah. When I go to Vegas, I'd use his place. Very nice man.
Yeah. He was awesome. There was a big cop in there. I can't remember his name, but he had a bunch of like heavyweight killers that were doing Pride at the time. And then J-Sect had a school that was like upstairs where Chuck and Tito were training, and we would go there too.
It's John Lewis.
Yeah. A little mini cage. The cage was like, it was about the size of this room.
Oh,
this
yeah.
is back in the 90s,
yeah.
middle 90s. So
Now, when did you do any martial arts as a kid?
I did.
With your father, or?
I did. He always trained me doing boxing and wrestling, and then like, I'm an '85 kid, so Jean-Claude Van Damme, him kicking everybody. I was like, Dad, let me take karate. He's like, you think that shit's gonna work on the street? Get out of here! What are you gonna do? Kick a guy in the leg? He was like from that train of thought. So he was always making fun of me for that. But like, I got really big into Kyokushin, and then obviously I started doing Muay Thai and stuff like that. Better hands. So
do you remember the first time you seen MMA, the UFC?
yes, it was the VHS tapes, like the very first one. We had them on all the time. We would binge watch them. We couldn't believe it.
Oh, so you enjoyed it?
Oh my God, right away when it was on the native reserves.
Oh yeah. That's pre-Zuffa.
Yep.
Yeah, that was back in the day. My first fight in the UFC was UFC 31. I was, that's right when Zuffa took over. Zuffa took over at UFC 30. So with the pro wrestling, did you watch? You were big into that, obviously, as a kid watching it.
That's all I wanted to do.
I watched that shit too.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan,
Yes.
Junkyard Dog. You remember him?
Of course.
You know the greats, Rowdy Piper. Right? Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They Live. Shout out to They Live.
They live.
They Live might be the best wrestler to in a lead in a movie, a sci-fi movie. I mean, listen, I don't know. There's also Drax and whoever else, But I thought They Live was amazing.
They Live is number one. It was a documentary, bro.
It's a documentary, yes. John Carpenter, that was so good, and that fight scene he had with his what's that black guy's name?
David
Keith.
He's great.
Keith David, right?
Yeah.
That was a great fight scene.
It was awesome.
It was great.
Just put these glasses on.
Yeah.
I just want you to put these glasses on.
He's thinking he's a nut.
Yep.
So you were watching wrestling as a kid, and that's all you wanted to do. When did you first start messing around with it?
So like the long and short of it was, I had like a comfort zone with conflict, because I was always growing up in boxing gyms. Like, I was watching people get knocked out all the time. Like, you know how there's like the people discover whether they have like a fight or flight response.
Yeah.
So I had my dad there, and like I knew how to slip shots and stuff, and I had been hit before, so that fear of getting hit was kind of gone. And everyone was always telling me like, hey, you're not big enough to be a professional wrestler. They would always say that, and I wasn't. I was like walking around like in my teenage years, maybe 160, 170.
Oh, there you go.
And I was like,
grow yet.
Yeah. So I was like very comfortable in that environment. And then like an idiot, I started doing the native reserves, the fights and stuff like that. I fought bare knuckle a bunch of times.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah. So it was on like Smokers. It was like, it was very, very shady. Like, I think they were running a racket.
Well, that's MMA though. Like, or was it back in the day? It was called No Holds Barred. When was this? What year around?
This would have been. I was 17. They never asked me for my ID. I was living in Toronto when it was illegal, so we had to take like a bus up north to Whitefish Lake. Wow.
This is crazy. So, and you were 17 years old. Did you grow at that point, or were you
I was still 170? But it worked for me because I could sit behind a jab. I was very lanky.
Did you even wrestle back then?
No, not really.
So you just put your knuckles, you put your soup bones on them.
Yeah, I didn't know enough to know that I didn't know. Like, it's a miracle nothing really, really, really bad didn't happen.
That's wild. Now, To do that, were you a scrappy kid? Were you getting into things?
It was me and a bunch of my friends at the boxing gym, and they were doing it before I did. So I came into this gym and they already had this thing. They had the route all the way there. And it was just like, oh, I don't have to go through a commission, and like I don't have to kick 30% back to a corner. Like I never really talked to anybody about like how I should be doing it properly. So me and my friends would go and we'd do this, and like the guys there stunk. So it was really easy.
Oh, that's funny.
They were terrible.
That is hysterical. And what year was this, you said? Around
17, so maybe like 2000, maybe 2003, so 2004.
This is wild, man. That's some wild stuff. Now, what was your nerves like with that first fight? That's a fight.
Yeah.
What was your nerves like?
The first fight, I had absolutely no nerves, and then I, of course, broke my hand because it's bare knuckle. And
did you get a boxer's break with the pinky?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And then I took a bunch of fights after that, and I was scared out of my mind every time after that. I was like, the whole ride there, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I should get off the bus. Like, so yeah.
You did this before you did any kind of professional wrestling.
Yeah, I did.
That is so wild. Was there ever a point that you would looking to go the MMA route?
Yes.
Instead of the professional wrestling?
So what wound up happening was my coaches, I was at the time, shortly after that, actually, I was training at a place called Toronto BJJ, and we had a coach there who was from Chute Box. His name was Mauricio Veo.
Okay.
So he was from like the old guard of Chute Box. His brother was Dita, and he was telling me, he's like, hey, you should do this professionally, and like I think you should get into like a pro camp. Like at the time in Toronto, it was like still illegal. So I was always planning to move to Vegas, which I did.
You were a little bit older now, or were you in the 20s?
Yeah, I'm in my 20s now. And I'm bouncing, and, you know, like all my coaches were telling me I got something. But like right before I move, my mother suggested I go to these classes, which was like family mediation. And it was, you learn about psychology, like how to identify power imbalances, psychology, sociology. Like we did all these case studies on like behavioral patterns and stuff. And then I like wound up figuring out that like I had like shit to work on and unpack. And then once I did that, I kind of was like, I don't think I want to fight anymore. It completely changed me. Like I lost my edge.
Wait, this was a therapy session?
No, it was like you go to a class to get like a certificate to become a family mediator. So, but then like the more I learned about people, I was able to kind of self-reflect. And then I don't know, I think like my motivations to want to fight were rooted in like trauma, basically. And when I began to work on that, and this was very unexpected, I was like, I would go to the gym and I didn't want to like be there anymore.
Well, that is so interesting. Did your mother see something in you to direct you to that thing?
She knew I was a good listener, and she knew I liked to help people. And so she thought it'd be a good profession.
But then she also knew you like to smash people? She thought maybe this might did she think this would have this effect on you?
I don't think so, no. No, we both took the classes together. It was something she wanted to do too.
That's so interesting. And it changed but you still wanted to, did you like the bright lights? What was it? To get into, what made you shift to the pro wrestling?
Well, so I ignored that feeling, and I moved to Vegas anyways, and I got into the pro camps. I was at Syndicate, I was at Vanderlei's, and so I was training there, and it was like, I was not enjoying it. I think the idea of it became more romanticized in my mind versus the reality of what it really was. And I was like, well, what did I really want to do? Like, since I've been a little kid, like financially, I'm stable. I had a great job. I was the director of nightlife security operations for a lot of the nightclubs in Vegas on the Strip. And so I was like, there's a wrestling school down the road. Why don't I just go do this? This is still all I think about. And so I went, and I loved it right away. Like it just boom.
And what was that? It was like a professional wrestling class type of thing?
They had like a school called Future Stars of Wrestling, FSW. And so if I had to like compare it to something, it's kind of like almost like a Cirque school, like Cirque du Soleil, where you go and you learn how to break your falls, you learn psychology, how to put the matches together, all that stuff.
You know what's interesting? Quentin Jackson told me, and I asked him about the professional wrestling because I thought he'd be a great fit because he's got a good personality, he's howling, and he's, you know, he can slam people. He said I forgot who he said he got hired by, but he said that they didn't train him.
TNA.
They didn't train him at all. He goes, they didn't train me. They kind of just threw me in there. And it's like, man, why wouldn't you work with that guy? Why wouldn't you literally put him in a class like you just talked about?
Yeah.
Is that just maybe the organization or? I don't know too much about the professional wrestling that deep. Besides as a kid liking what I liked, you know.
If I'm guessing, maybe they thought they could capitalize on his popularity to viewership, and thought that maybe they wanted to expedite his process, and maybe I don't know. Like, that's bizarre. They should have sent him.
Yeah, they kind of did that with Cain Velasquez too, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
But Cain's a different animal. Cain picked that up like, I mean, I wrestled Cain.
Oh yeah.
I was in Cain's first match in AAA Mexico.
Oh, get out of here.
He was doing things like performance-wise that were so advanced. I mean, like to do a springboard where you run and jump on the second rope, like the literal rope, not the turnbuckle, the rope, and then fly off and do a corkscrew spin through the air and grab the guy by his arm and flip him. Like, he was able to do things that you shouldn't normally be able to do. But Cain was always training.
He's an athletic freak, that guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
they said for a heavyweight, there's arguments about him being the best ever when he's in his prime.
I believe it.
Yeah. Now, in that type of class, what are the odds? Is it like a comedy class where it's like, look, most of these guys aren't going nowhere? Did you go in there and look around and be like, it's like the Bad News Bears or something? What are you looking around? What is is it a bunch of guys like who are not going to make it? Some of them might make it, or what kind of?
I mean, I'm like because I was a doorman for so long, like I read body language and people and pretty quickly, like people are lying to you all night on the front door. So like you learn to pick up on social cues very quickly, and you can tell who's going to quit and who's going to stay. And there were a couple people I knew in there, they probably weren't going to stick it out. But I just tried to like enter the whole thing like as humbly as possible. So I tried not to think that way, but like more than anything, when I went to the wrestling school, I said to myself, I want to learn as much of this as possible to get out of here, to get on TV as quickly as possible to make a good living. Because on an independent level, it's very, very, very difficult to make a good living.
Now, did it come fast for you? I mean, you took that class, and then, all right, we gotta, because I've seen, it's almost like MMA where there's the big show, and then there's the shit like in the minor leagues, or, in like a garage or so, I mean, it's not like the big show at all. So with the WWE, there's these big, that's the UFC of pro wrestling. But to get there, how many like gymnasiums and whatever you had to get to, how much experience did you have to get on like a local circuit?
So I had local shows in Vegas so I could kind of like work on the craft locally. So I did a ton of those shows. I think I put like 6 or 7 years in on the independents before WWE picked me up. So comparatively to other people, how long it can take them to get there, I did this all relatively quickly. But I trained like a lunatic. Like, I got a key to the school. Like, I would even go in when nobody was there and just work on break falls and hitting the ropes. And I mean, I treated it like my full-time thing. As you can imagine, if you're contemplating fighting pro, that takes over your whole life. Otherwise, you're going to get your head blown off on TV, and nobody wants that. Yeah. So I just took all the energy that I put into that, and I put it into pro wrestling, and it wasn't a problem for me to commit that much time and energy into it. I was already wired that way.
How did you always have the gift for the gab? I mean, I just did Rogan's Fight Companion, and the driver, James, nice guy, I told him I was having you on. We were shooting the shit, and then he got excited, and he got excited, and he told me, and again, it's like MMA, either you follow it or you don't. Like, I'm aware of things, but I don't follow it. But he talked about your mic skills, and the one thing I remember him saying is, you tell him that I feel he's being underutilized. It's not me saying it. I don't know. But he's saying you're underutilized in the WWE. So, James, huh? I'm telling him. He told me to tell you that. He was so excited, It's nice, right? Doesn't that feel good?
It does feel good. I've been getting that for a long time. So it's I don't know what to do with it.
I seen the clips, and you're funny. I love your fucking Jesse Ventura. See the shirt I'm wearing right now?
That's awesome. Predator.
Predator. Yes. No, you're missing Jesse on here though.
Do you know when we were booking Kevin, he was telling me he had just done Jesse's show, and with Jesse.
It's coming out soon.
I didn't even know he has a show.
He's doing it again now. He started it back up.
Oh,
I might be one of his first episodes that he's doing that again.
Did he ask you from the Chris Van Vliet interview? Is that where, or did you know him already from that?
So Yeah, basically. So I've been trying to get on a show for a while, but they needed to kind of WWE and him needed to mend bridges, which they have. So it's been like a year and a half in the making. So finally, they let me do it.
So in front of a mic, you always were. Were you ever shy in front of the mic?
I actually am like definitely an introvert.
Yeah, you know what? That's fucking weird, man. I feel like I'm like that too.
Yeah.
I do. When I'm not like at my school with my people, and especially with rude people and stuff, I just don't feel like I belong in the world sometimes. I know it sounds weird. I just feel like I can't stand rude people, and but when I'm always happy though, because I'm always around my people. I'm here with Christian. I'm hanging out with Jimmy Norton doing my Unfiltered. I'm at my. You see my school. Was everybody so nice?
Everybody.
You know,
that was a great culture, by the way. I got to tell you, man. I wish every school was like that.
Oh, thanks, man.
And I travel a lot. I drop into schools all over the country, and it's like this is like doesn't get any more close to perfect than what you got going on.
Dude, I appreciate that. And you know, it's funny because I want to find out about how you, when you first started doing jiu-jitsu, because you know, they look at professional wrestlers, especially MMA guys, and be like, they're good, but they're doing the fake stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Dude, I seen you rolling last night. I got I know I was working with some beginners in the cage and this and that, and I'm with my kid. I got my eyes everywhere. I seen also clips, because now it's scarier, because I seen him get more than one Achilles lock, straight ankle lock. Now, the straight ankle lock, I'm going to say, that's been around forever. There's so many new entries into the leg locks, and it gets a little articulate. But the straight ankle lock is effective, and not only is it effective, I don't know, Christian, if you could bring anything up, but there's a clip of him, Kevin, breaking not one, but 3 baseball bats with the Achilles lock. And I used to, first of all, I never broke any bats, but I used to practice that same shit the way you're scissoring over the leg. Who showed you how to do that?
Nobody. I watched stuff online, and then I watched other people. Like I seen people break their arms doing it. So I thought about it. For a long
you got to
time.
be careful of that.
Yeah, I thought about it for a long time where the bats really need to be, of like when it worked and when it didn't work, and I just started messing around with it one day in the house, and I figured out I could get really good.
I seen you starting with 1. Is that what you did?
Yes.
And then I seen that's the 1 bat. I want to see the 3 bats. But so basically, Christian, what he does is he gets these bats and he gets it right on the forearm, and he has it in the armpit, and he puts a little towel so he doesn't hurt his forearm, and it breaks 3 baseball bats. Now picture what that will do to. They called it the gentle art. But picture what that will do. Jiu-Jitsu is so beautiful, man. I wanna get all your thoughts about it. But to me, it could be as gentle as when you have the ultimate control, and you're used to controlling guys that know what they're doing, and then you get a regular guy who's basically, a lot of times there's a drunk white belt. You know what I mean? That's what it is. So it's a superpower. It is a superpower, and it's hard to. It's funny. Not to get all over the place, but it's hard to realize, it's hard to really appreciate it until you feel it. I hear Elon Musk talking about fighting Mark Zuckerberg. He might build rockets. He's going to go to Mars. He's the smartest guy. I love Elon Musk about all that shit, but don't sleep on that jiu-jitsu, man. I'm telling you, but don't be too smart on that, because I think he has a judo background and he's a big guy, but Zuckerberg's attacking the jiu-jitsu, man. And he's a smart guy. You know, guys like that, I believe he'll get to his back. I believe he'll take a limb if Elon's sleeping on him. But I just went everywhere with my jiu-jitsu. But when did you first started rolling jiu-jitsu?
So I think jiu-jitsu specifically, not wrestling, was when I was 15. And humbling experience like anybody. You get strangled the entire class.
Yeah. You were in a class? You took a class?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you get strangled, every single lock, you have no idea how to sweep. You have no idea how to escape. And they didn't show me anything. I just kind of jumped into the class. They wanted to see if I'd come back. And I did.
Okay.
I did. And I think that was like the test to see whether or not they wanted to invest time into people.
This is like an old school method right here.
Yeah.
Now everybody's like, give me your credit card. But back then they're like, let's see if this guy can survive.
Yeah.
What school was this?
This was Toronto BJJ.
Toronto BJJ. That sounds so, I wonder if I was ever there, man. That sounds so familiar.
Probably.
Yeah.
Mauricio wound up moving on out of that school. and he opened up his own school called Evolução, Portuguese for evolution.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure, unless the pandemic killed it, his school is still in Toronto.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pandemic took out some schools for sure.
Oh yeah.
So you took to it right away, the jiu-jitsu.
Right away. Because I was like, at the time I was thinking like, well, if there's money on the line, I don't want this to happen again, so I better figure out how to get out of this shit.
Yeah.
So the second time I went back, they showed me everything I basically needed to know for like a white belt curriculum. And they were like, hey, here are your sweeps. This is the purpose of why you're even pulling guard, how to retain guard and all that stuff. So then I was like, okay, I started to learn the systems, and the big test, at least for that school, was like, is he going to come in here and be a hothead and try to hurt people? Because if that's the case, we're going to hurt him and send him out the door. And I wasn't like that.
I got you.
I watched so many people come in and do that. And then I understood why they did that.
Yeah, no, I mean, my motto is, with my school is, I like to make good people dangerous. I keep it as simple as that. If I sense just a bad egg, I get them right out of there.
Yep.
I get them right out. I'm not putting this in their hands. They can learn somewhere else.
Yep.
Keep your fucking $200. Fuck it.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I really just seen jiu-jitsu just change people's lives, man. Just not only just losing some weight, well, that too. I mean, I seen transformations, man, with bodies, but just swag, just the way they feel more comfortable. Just like I was telling you about that young Jason with that stupid jock in the backyard putting him to sleep.
Yep.
I said that on air?
I don't think so.
I didn't say that on air?
I never heard anything.
Okay. Anyway. You know why we talk out often? Nah, he's not going to get in trouble. That kid, he had a good sense of humor, the other kid.
You can also edit.
Yeah, no. Leave that on there. I want Jason getting his props.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now because I seen you in front of a mic, what about, you ever think of the acting, or have you done it?
So yeah, I just produced my first short film in Los Angeles.
Let's go.
Yeah, and so that'll be coming out this year. I was planning on having it out last year, but I'm learning, because it's my first time, how long post-production takes. You have to color treat things, you have to sound mix it. The editing process can take a long time, and so once the film's ready, I'm going to send it into the Independent Film Festival Awards and see how it does.
Now, is this something you really can't talk about more?
No, I can talk about it. I produced it. So,
all right.
I took a supporting role in it. My buddy who wrote the script initially was talking to me about like maybe potentially doing the lead, but like without blowing the whole plot, like the lead character is he's homeless. So being 6'3" and like 250 pounds,
it might look a little odd.
Weird.
Yeah, that might not fly.
And I also didn't want it to come off like a vanity project either, because a lot of guys that are trying to push their way into Hollywood that don't really have any real acting chops will do that. They'll produce their own stuff and then make themselves the lead.
Yeah.
And it's repulsive to the community, like the real acting community.
Now,
So
this might be a stupid question. Do you take acting lessons or no? Some guys don't.
I took acting lessons from a gentleman by the name of Paul Robert in Toronto, and he was a theater guy, and he was teaching classes outside of my high school, but he was also a high school teacher, so I got the benefits of both. He was doing both. He's working two jobs, and the stuff that I learned from him, I've been able to use on TV now, like in my career, and I've just always loved theater. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now, do you get worried about with the acting? Do you like to be more behind the scenes? You directed this movie or produced it?
I produced it.
Oh, okay. But you want to be in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Do you worry about being do you want to do all type of roles, or do you want?
I would do all.
Yeah.
I don't want to necessarily be typecasted, because initially some of my friends that didn't have anything to do with the movie, they're like, you should do an action film. And I was like, they'll get me every Monday night on Raw doing action. I'm not really demonstrating any sort of real range here. And I'd actually like to step out of my wheelhouse and do something drama related. And the short film was a drama. So.
Oh, wow.
How is the WWE now with that? Because I know that at one point they were so tight on schedule, not letting people do stuff. But I know that they also, once Paul kind of took over, you guys get a little bit more time with the family and everything too. But do they give you a little more freedom to do those types of movies and things too?
So I submitted the script to the company. I talked to Paul and Nick about it, and they gave me no hassle whatsoever. Like, they gave me a green light. They said, go do it. They just wanted to make sure there was nothing inflammatory and strange in the script.
Oh, yeah.
And there wasn't. So there's nothing like that would be controversial that would blow up in their face or something like that.
Well, what about comedies? You see
I
yourself?
would do comedies in a heartbeat.
Dude, come on, man. I see that. I can see that as your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Some guys can't transition over to that. I can't, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think if Sylvester Stallone was ever funny.
I mean, he tried.
Not with that Oscar. Don't say that mom. Don't shoot. Don't let your mom shoot.
Oscar.
What was that?
Don't stop when my mom was shoot.
Those were rough. Was he ever funny? Was he ever in anything funny? Sylvester.
Not that I remember. But do you know the story behind the Stop and My Mom Will Shoot? With
Yes,
Arnold?
I do. I believe that Arnold made like he was going to take the movie, but he really wasn't going to.
He never was. Is that the movie's terrible? I was not going to do it.
And then,
But,
and then so he wanted Sylvester to get it first. Yeah. That those guys were at war back
They
in the
hated
day.
each other back then.
It's hysterical. So, what kind of movies did you grow up on, man? Like the ones anything that your favorites?
Best of the best.
Hold on, I know the name. I know the name of it's Julia. It's Julia.
Come on,
Julia. It's Eric Roberts.
There you go. You got it there.
Yeah, shit, Tommy Puppet. I love it. What was he saying when he had the injury?
He was going, pop it.
Oh, that was a fun movie.
It was so good.
So bad, but so good.
Yes.
Oh, that was great. They did some sequels. I don't remember those, but the best of the best. So
good.
You like those cheesy martial arts movies?
I loved them all. I've watched all of them.
I'll tell you, Steven Seagal had some good ones early on.
Yes,
When
before he started jogging, before the jog started.
The jog was bad. I like Under Siege. That wasn't bad.
It was good.
Get my pies out of the oven. I don't think anybody's gonna get that reference, but he kept telling him to get the pie. He was a chef. I thought that was a good movie. And then when it went to the one where he was on he was on an Indian reserve and he became like a hippie. I go, this is just a pile of shit. What? And he got fat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't do that.
I don't even think he's here anymore. He's in Russia, I think.
That was so bad. Well, now, out of all those guys, including Jeff Speakman, who was your favorite, the perfect weapon? You ever see that?
Yes.
Kenpo. You know what's interesting about being 50 is when I was growing up, when I was 16, 17, like there was no UFC. So you didn't know what really worked. So when we'd watch all these movies, we'd be like, oh, wow, Van Damme, who would win, him or Jeff Speakman or Steven Seagal with that fucking shit, you know? My father used to do Wing Chun Kung Fu. Cool. So I used to do a lot of sticky hands with him, pak sows, chain punches. But every time I got into a street altercation, back then, I did a season and a half of wrestling. I didn't get along with the coaches. I was a wild kid too. I would start with a chain punch, and then we were so close, I'd end up using my wrestling, even back then, as in a fight. So when I saw these tapes of the Gracies called Gracie in Action, did you ever see those videos?
No.
Oh, I recommend you see those. Those are great. Especially what did it for me is Gracie in Action and Gracie in Action 2. Their fights in Brazil, Vale Tudo, it was called, Anything Goes. I'm sure you've seen some of those. And then it was challenge matches in dojos at the Gracie and the Torrance Academy and some stuff in Brazil, where they would just close the doors and the Gracies would take them down. And this is before you really seen what real fighting was, you know?
Yep.
This was like in 1990, 89. And I'm like, whoa, what is this? My father would show me these VHS tapes of this family. And I'm like, and I thought I was a tough kid, but I remember thinking like, if I ever met one of these skinny Brazilians, I'm not going to be able to get them off me. Some of these matches, hoists on this guy, Jason DeLucia, and he just ended up, and the kid was athletic, and he got on top of hoist, and I'm like, oh, he's on bottom now. And again, this was not ever seen. There was no UFCs. So I'm like, it looked like he's on bottom, and he's not worried. He's not even panicking. And now he's flipped him over, and he's choking with his legs. I was mesmerized when I seen this thing, you know? Kids growing up now, they know what real fighting is from the second they were born.
Yep.
It's weird, man. So with these movies back then, they had a little bit more of an impact because they were more like, wow. Because nowadays you'll see that, and unless it's like they actually put more real shit in movies now. Like John Wick, you see some real techniques. You know, I had Frank Mir on. We talked just about John Wick. You know you know what I mean. But it is funny back then that we didn't know really what worked. You know.
Yep.
But you grew up knowing what works at your age.
I did. It was a very big advantage.
I keep forgetting I'm 50, Christian. How old are you?
Almost there.
All right, good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get him down to the academy.
He told me.
He came right from the airport. He came right from the airport. I don't even think he went to his hotel. But damn, man, I like the way you move, dude. You move nice with your jiu-jitsu. Do you teach also?
I do.
Where do you teach at?
At Rudo's BJJ in Orlando, which was started by Daniel Gracie.
Oh, Daniel Gracie. Now, we started talking about Daniel a little bit last night. Now, I have to give him a shout out. Daniel Gracie is my instructor, Renzo Gracie's cousin. When I was 23 years old, I went to Brazil, and I was the only American on the mats. I'm 23. It's 1998, and Daniel picked me up at the airport, and I was telling this a little bit with to Kevin last night. Is a lot of the Brazilians didn't treat me too great. They had respect enough because everybody treated Renzo like a god over there. So Renzo was at Gracie Baja that time in Rio de Janeiro, Baja de Juca. Renzo nobody's gonna mess with somebody if Renzo said don't mess with him. So I was Renzo's top guy. I'm there on the Renzo's fucking protection, But people were rude as shit. Hey, gringo, you still rolling? Roll with him. But you know what I mean? So it was but I remember the guys that were nice to me. And that Daniel Gracie was a sweetheart to me when I met him then. And I remember that now. So I'll always, remember that.
And he's still that way, man. I haven't seen him in maybe like a year and a half, but still very funny. Will still stop and show anybody anything. He'll stay as much time as you want after class to dial in stuff. Like, he's still that dude.
He's a big boy too. You move around with him at all?
A little bit.
That's great.
He has like the death touch where we're all trying to like lock everything in and perfect and stuff like that. Daniel will just like put his hand on you and you'll start falling asleep.
Yeah. He knows how to distribute his weight. He spent a lot of time in the Renzo Gracie Academy in Manhattan, a lot of time. So I've seen, again, shit, I'm 50 now, so I'm like almost 30 years I know that guy. Wow. It gets crazy. So, man, that's insane. So with those movies, you mostly like the martial arts movies. What about like the science fiction movies? Did you watch those new Dune movies?
I did.
What'd you think?
So I love them, but I'm not going to lie. The first movie, there was so much information compressed in such a short amount of time. I had to watch it like 7 times to understand what was going on.
Oh, get out of here.
The second film, I understood immediately.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I went back and watched the first one maybe like a 7th time. I fly a lot.
Yeah.
So, and then it made perfect sense to me after watching the second. But it was a lot of information for me to take in. So.
I seen the one. I didn't make it through it. I actually went back and watched it. The 1980 something with the one with Sting in it.
The David Lynch one.
David Lynch one. Yeah. And I got through it because I didn't get through it in the past. It never like resonated with me. But after I seen the new one, I went back just to watch that one because I love the new one so much. So you can make some comparisons. It's the same kind of story, same story.
Yep.
But somewhat. I mean, the David Lynch shit was weird as hell.
And he likes it that way.
Right.
He did all of his movies that way. So
yeah, even the boils on that dude's face and stuff. I love the way. Who's the director again? The French guy.
Denis Villeneuve.
I love his direction. Even the music, the score.
Yeah.
Everything. I find myself rewatching the second one, and I'm watching just Paul Atreides go down south, just strutting. They're making a path for him. And then when he goes up there, oh man, it was so great when he's giving the speech and what do they call him again?
Al-Gib? What is it?
Al-Dib. Mazdib.
I don't remember the beginning.
I don't know. Mabdib.
He's right there.
There he is. He's over my shoulder. Yo, I love those movies. You watch any series or anything? Or no? You big guy into those or no?
I do, but I watch so many of them now I forget. I mean, like I got really big into Squid Games.
Oh,
people love the Squid Games.
I just started season 1.
Yeah,
it's good. Yeah. It's really good. Yeah.
Saw Invincible. Invincible's a really good
Invincible is very good. Were you into comics as a kid? Or no?
Always.
Tell me, what was your go-to comic as a kid?
X-Men.
Fuck yeah.
Bottom line.
Come on, man.
Bottom line.
He's so funny because Avengers got so popular with the movies, but I was, especially if they went versus each other, I was all X-Men. I liked Wolverine before I knew I was going to grow up short. I thought maybe I'd still grow. I resonated with him. I thought maybe I liked him when I was still growing. Everything about it. I don't know if it's before your time. Have you ever heard of the Mutant Massacre?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Just slaying. They crucified poor Angel in the sewers of Manhattan.
Is that the X-Men 97 thing or is that something different?
I believe it's something different.
Okay.
It follows after that.
It is it? Okay, okay. Because
the Mutant Massacre was one of my favorite storylines where they're just wiping out. They're wiping out mutants. They've got these guys called the Marauders. You know what I'm talking about?
Of course. They did a little bit of that in Logan. They introduced them a little
they
bit.
did. Because the main bad guy had the arm a little bit. And Logan was done very well.
It was amazing.
Out of the superhero movies, which is your favorites? Do you watch them?
I watched them all. I've seen them all.
Okay.
I think for me, Logan is my favorite, but it's a bittersweet because it's just so tragic.
It is depressing.
Yeah, but like as an acting piece and like for somebody who grew up on X-Men, I mean, like that was as close as they could get to that comic series because the comic series is even darker than that.
It's funny,
like with Crazy Hulk. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
You know, all that type of stuff. And I'd say that one, but I mean, Civil War was really good too. But then like I was bummed that they killed Crossbones the way they did because he was the one who was supposed to snipe Captain America, right? Was in the comics, isn't Captain America at a podium giving a speech about, and then a Crossbones shoots him?
Is that right with Civil War?
I'll check.
But I'm not as up on I mean, with the Civil War storyline with the comics.
I just remember looking at that comic when it first came out, and just the picture to actually see Captain America getting shot and killed. It floored me. I had to close the book, and I sat back in my chair, and I went, "What have they done?" I couldn't believe it.
It's our buddy Frank Grillo.
Yeah, I think he's right. Yeah.
Cross Jones.
Yeah.
Cross.
That was it. Yeah,
that was it.
I was like, "What the hell?" It was so dark, and that kind of like sent things into a spiral with that. So
I found those comics very dark back in the day, killing left and right. Even like when I was talking about with the Mutant Massacre, you get characters that they go to dark places that normally don't. You got Colossus, where he's going versus this girl that's shooting out like ninja stars and they're piercing his skin. He gets the neck, and all of a sudden you see the words crack, and he says, "Tell Harpoon I'm coming for him next," something like that. Oh, it's that's not Colossus. That's Wolverine. That's anybody but Colossus. He's more of a gentle giant. You know?
Yep.
But I love that stuff. I love how deep they got into the characters. I was so into the X-Men and also and Punisher. The Punisher War Journal back in the day when it was him and Microchip. Now, Microchip was his guy in the van. He was the tech guy. That's why I got so excited during the series when they had him come along and
the Daredevil series?
I believe it was the Punisher, the first season.
Punisher.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they have that new one. They said, we'll see if it's true or not, but apparently the Disney Plus Daredevil is supposed to be even more violent than the Netflix one.
I just saw the new trailer that dropped today.
Yeah.
I'm pumped. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
It looks really good.
Solid.
The directing style too, it's dark and gritty. The mood it's set, it's all there. So
I enjoyed the Netflix series with both I think they got Daredevil right. You know, we forget about that Ben Affleck one. But even though I kind of enjoyed it when it came out, I don't know if I just have a love of it, but even though he could have done a little more sit-ups for that, Ben Affleck, you know what I mean?
He could have done more.
He could have done something for that though. He looked better in the Batman movies.
Did you watch Penguin?
I loved Penguin.
Penguin maybe is the best, aside from Punisher. For me, Penguin is the best show I've seen from like a comic book to a series.
It's amazing. Even Ray Longo liked it. Because I tried to get him to watch stuff. He's like, "Oh, I'm watching that. I'm a grown-up." I go, "Longo." I go, "Give it a try." He loved it. He fucking loved it. He was gutted at the end when what happened.
Yeah.
You know what I like about that series, excuse me, is you wouldn't think that the way they kind of like rebooted the character where he's got a limp, but he's looking like a mobster. But at the end, and it's not really spoilers, or maybe it is spoilers, but they're telling him to clean up his act if he's going to be hanging out with the high society. He's resembling the fucking Penguin at the end.
Yes.
He's got that thing on and he's...
Top hat.
It's him. I thought they were just staying in this direction and he's awesome. It's a different take on him. But they somehow brought it back to the character that we grew up with.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It was cool. Street gangster. It's a sort of like you were saying, he's masquerading as high society so he can blend in, right?
Oh, man. I thought that was done so well. And what did you think of the Robert Pattinson Batman, the Batman?
I didn't hate on it, to be honest. I think that I've seen that guy in a lot of stuff, and I knew he's a great actor. He's really good. And he he's like a chameleon. He blends into the roles a lot of times. Like sometimes, I don't know if it was an apparatus, but I saw him in one movie where he was like really heavy set and like didn't even resemble the guy that you would see in a lot of mainstream films. So when I watched it, I loved it. And finally, they introduced the detective side of Batman for once. Finally, so I was psyched about that.
I thought it maybe went a little bit too. It could have ended a little bit stronger. Like there was a scene when he was in like the rubble, and I thought it was going to end something like that. But it kind of felt like it got dragged on a little bit. But I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah,
I thought Robert Pattinson killed it, and I like this. I like the Nirvana soundtrack to it. I think it fit the Under the Bridge. I think it just fit the tone of it. I like the fight scenes. How about the fight scenes? The fight scenes are phenomenal.
Yeah, awesome.
I love the Nolan films, but the Dark Knight, some of those fight scenes here and there, they weren't the best. Even though I love the Dark Knight.
Yeah,
Dark Knight was phenomenal. Yeah. I know mine, and I'm going to say it's the most underrated superhero movie. I feel that doesn't get enough respect or attention. I'm building this up.
You are.
You know what I'm going to say.
I do.
Dredd. Not Judge Dredd. Not with Stallone. I'm not hating on Stallone this episode. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. But Dredd with Carl Urban. So good. Did you see it?
Of course. I watched both. I loved both of them. But the one
That's funny. The first with Stallone too?
Oh, yeah. You betrayed it all.
He had the helmet off the whole time.
I know.
Listen, as a kid, I liked it. Yeah. I seen that when I was in my teens too. Or maybe I was a little bit older, but I liked it. I did like it when I seen it. Yeah. It came out at the same time as like Batman 3 or something. I remember that. I don't know why I remember that, but I do. I remember Rob Snyder. I remember reading a bit when he goes, all I'll tell you is there's going to be a lot of little bat pieces all over the place, something like that. But then I think Batman killed it in the box office. But I loved Dredd. I watched it the other day. I think that was about as perfect as a movie, as far as a comic book movie as you can get. I thought Carl Urban, without taking his helmet off, did an amazing acting job. He was Dredd. He did, from his snarl to just talking to mama, I'm the law. I can't do it. I can't even pretend to do it. But it is so good. Yeah. And the rookie, the girl that's the psychic it's her assessment that day. The transition with that girl. Remember in the beginning when he's like, "Are you ready? You don't look ready." She's like, "It's the adrenaline." And what about towards the end? Right?
All the crooked judges, they turn on him.
It's so funny because they did so much with not so little, but like it was compressed to this apartment building, much like the movie I'm thinking of. There's a Japanese or a Korean.
The Raid?
The Raid!
Yeah.
Korean movie.
I think it is.
Okay. It's got that kind of feel of it where you're trapped in, they were trapped in the mega city one, the complex, peach trees. And, Mama, the head of the gang that just took out all the other gangs, is not letting them leave. And and towards the end of it, I'm not to get all over the place with the rookie, I just love the transformation where you've seen everything by the end of this movie, whatever it is, by the 2 hours, they're about to get into something. He's like, "Are you ready?" And he's like, "You look ready." And it was just, dude.
It's great.
I'm not gonna have to touch my nipples, but they're hard right now. Kevin, I love that fucking movie. He's young enough. He's in The Boys.
Yeah,
they could do a sequel
easily.
It was done so well. I'm gonna make a petition.
3D in that movie. Did you guys see it in the theater?
I did.
Did you see it in 3D?
Yep.
It was some of the best 3D, I think, maybe since Avatar.
It was really good. When they're going through the windows and the glasses coming off the face.
The slow-mo, skinning them alive, and they hit him with the slow-mo, so they let it drag out. And then at the end, fuck, man, he's a badass. No, I can't say enough about that movie. Yeah. What were you going to ask about the WWE? Because I can't. Because I can't delve into that.
I got a ton of it, to be honest with you. But I think that when it comes to, I agree with your driver, the guy who was driving you back.
Underutilized.
I think underutilized.
James.
I think that you are obviously really good on the mic and everything too. But I think as far as, because you went to NXT and you won the championship at NXT.
Yep.
How long did that take before you got that call that they're like, "Hey, we're going to put the strap on you"?
I didn't know it was coming. So at the time, right before I went to NXT, so I was still on the independents, right? And my name was getting around. I was working with a lot of top people. I was main eventing a lot of shows, and my momentum was really good. But at the time, my dad was really sick, so I wasn't really sure what was going to be happening with his health. So something clicked in my head, and I was like, I got to make a living at this, because if everything goes upside down, like, this is all going to fall on me. And like, what is this wrestling thing that I'm doing going to mean anything if I can't take care of my family?
Yeah.
So the timing of that, I got a little bit more serious and decided to, I was advised by a veteran to call Triple H. And so I wound up getting hired to NXT, and I went to NXT with just the intention to clear money, just in case, I have to like take over a mortgage or something. Like, it was time to get serious. Like, I was really, really happy and enjoying the independence, but, I was still bodyguarding, and I was still doing, like the door work in Vegas. So when I went in, I didn't know that things were going to pan out so well. I just thought I'd put my best foot forward. When did I find out I was going to win the belt? Maybe like a week or two before we did the event.
Oh, wow.
They mentioned something to me, and that could always change. Like, you could be walking through the curtain and they can go, hey, change the finish.
Right.
And now,
Really?
oh, yeah. So you got to improvisationally change. Like, I just didn't believe it until it actually happened.
Yeah, I mean, so like it's that as far as the mic goes, we were talking about where you were comfortable on the mic, obviously. And is it because there's just so much going on right now with the move to Netflix and all that it's just harder to get an opportunity to say, hey, look, I'm obviously, because I think of like LA Knight. LA Knight was so over, right? And he got a push finally, just run the US championship, but like everybody thought he was going to even go even more so. Like, how is it just there's so much talent right now, like that the guys that are over with the crowd, like, why are the pushes not happening, you think, faster than they should?
I don't know, and it's such a dangerous question to answer, but this is what I will say. I don't envy the position of creative or booking the show, because you have this company and it's worth billions, right? And you have public shareholders, and you don't want to hire anything less than the best of the best. So now you have a whole roster full of people that are incredible. I mean, some people, for lack of better words, they get casted as backgrounds. Some people get casted as supporting actors, and then some people are the leads. Now, if you pay a lot of money out to the leads, those are going to be the people you're really going to run with, and the rest of the cast in wrestling kind of supports the leads, right? There are some people that are in the supporting actor background or just background that could be great leads. Mm-hmm. But you kind of have an obligation. Once you've casted certain people as leads in the show, you have to run with them. And maybe they're just, maybe they're just trying to get the most out of their leads right now.
Yeah.
But like, I don't fucking give up.
Yeah.
That's not my fucking thing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stick it out, and every single opportunity that I get, I'm going to show them I could be that guy, because I can be.
Yeah.
And a lot of the audience knows that. In terms of getting the opportunity to demonstrate that, I stay ready for it.
Yeah.
I train for it. I eat for it. Like, I don't get complacent whatsoever. Any Monday that comes around, the way I look at it, Monday Night Raw tonight could be that night that changes the direction of your career, but you need to be ready for it. You know what I mean? You have 6 days at home. You can't just be hanging out on the couch. Like, you need to be ready. Things change very quickly. So that's kind of just the way I approach it. But in terms of, like, to directly answer your question, I'm not in control. I'm not in control of that process. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah.
But I'm ready for it. So, and I'd like to think that they know that.
I think James the driver knows it. That guy fucking knows
it.
That dude, it was fucking. It couldn't have got bigger. When I mentioned your name, that guy got so fucking excited.
I want to see you and Braun go at it, man.
I would love that. Him and I have wanted to work together for a really long time.
Great.
Really long time.
Out of all the upcoming, because let me tell you something. I was telling you this earlier. I just did the Rogan Fight Companion, and I'm passionate about the shit I geek out about. So I brought up to Joe, hey man, did you see the new Superman trailer? Totally shit on me. I was in the lion's den. Brendan Schwab and Brian Callen had my back up until he saw crypto, and then he started being like, Matt, what do you think of that choice? But I stuck to, dude, you think I backed down. Did you watch that?
Not yet.
I held to my guns.
Yeah.
Boo! I was telling him, Joe, boo! Because I know he likes the movies. He's breaking my balls. Did you see the new Superman trailer?
I did.
What are your thoughts about this thing?
I really can't wait to see it. It looks like a different take, and it looks like a timepiece. Like it looks like it's set in the 70s, sort of. I hope I'm right about that, but like it looks like it's set with in that time period, and I really like that stuff because that means the setting's going to reflect that, the language, dialect, like that stuff excites me about seeing something, a story that I've seen maybe, I don't know, 10 times now. They've done a lot of Superman films, so I'm glad that they're taking a different take on it. So,
I'm super excited that it's James Gunn that's doing it. And the reasoning why, what did you think of the Guardian films?
I really liked them.
I really liked them also, all three of them. I enjoyed three of them. Some guys didn't like two.
I didn't like 2 when I initially saw it. Remember, I've seen
You like it now?
I've seen it twice again since, and we
I'm
just
not
did a
giving you
rewatch
shit.
of it. You
I'm
can
not
give me
doing
shit on
what Rogan
it.
did to me.
Like
I enjoyed all of them.
Yeah.
What I like about James Gunn is he has a way of making you care about characters that you never knew existed, and he does that within a 2-hour time period. When I saw that first Guardians, and I'm a comic nerd, like we talking about, I didn't. Maybe I heard of them, but I knew nothing about them. Knew nothing about them. By the end of that thing, by the end of that movie, when Peter Quill's grabbing that Infinity Stone, and then when Groot sacrificed himself, who's not getting teary over that?
Sure.
I'm not. Listen, I can defend myself. I'm not afraid to say it. You know what I mean, right? We can say that, guys like me and you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Poor young Jason's getting his ankles ripped off by no, he was very gentle. I watched also. I'm like, oh my God, he's got his leg. Thank God I didn't see him breaking the bats before that, because Jason's legs are the size of one of those bats. Very gentle giant. But dude, you like those Achilles locks?
Really
do you get those a lot?
I do, because people feed their feet when they're butt scooting or like out of triangles and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so,
and you lay back with that thing, and do you figure four your legs when you do it, or you just bring your leg across? I saw you put your heel and toes out, which is right.
It depends what they give me.
Okay,
it depends. I'm not married to one way or the other. It just depends what's available.
You go belly down with it.
If I have to, yes.
Well, first of all, listen to me. Not a lot scares me, Christian.
Well, that's true.
Watch that thing with the bats, and then you'll have an idea what he could do to a leg.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask. Is that who is because this is a question a lot of people back in the day, everyone said Haku. Who's the toughest guy in the locker room
right now?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna tell you, like, I'm not bullshitting. Everybody in that locker room is really, really, really tough.
Yeah.
Because how do you measure what tough is? Well, like if you're working a 25-minute match, you're out there landing on your back and your head for 25 minutes. That's how I kind of how I would kind of measure who's really tough. Maybe toughest right now. I'm trying to think of who Gunther's been beating up. We have a world champion. He's gigantic. He's a very large human being, and he just chops meat out there. Like
How much does he weigh?
Gunther's probably 240, I think.
Dude, you got framework. Listen, I don't want to start no shit, but all I know is Gunther. What belt is he in jiu-jitsu? You're looking at the most dangerous guy in the locker room.
Well, that's what
listen, he's not going to say. He can't say that.
Well, that's not true.
I'm going to say
I'm
it for
talking
him.
about, like, they asked the guy. They used to ask the guys like who in the bar fight, like they would say Haku, Rick Rude, guys of that nature. Like if you were at a bar and like you were and shit went down, who's the guy you want right next to you?
Chad Gable.
Really?
Yeah, Chad Gable. So he's got an amateur background. He's 100% legit.
Okay.
He's won nationals and state and gold medal and stuff like that. He transitioned into pro wrestling. Yeah. I would say him because he's a lunatic.
Yeah.
He's the guy who will, like Mark Kerr somebody. He'll stick his chin in the guy's eyeball, and like he's definitely one of those people. He's very calm. He's very chill, as you'd expect from somebody who's like a master level grappler.
Yeah.
I would go with him.
Mark, did you know Mark Kerr at all?
This is a silly story. So I met him back when I think he was in California with Boss. My dad took me into Boss's jiu-jitsu school one day. We were only there for one day, and I met Mark, and my dad seemed to know Mark from wrestling. And then I just saw Mark last WrestleMania weekend, and I reintroduced myself to him as an adult. He didn't recognize me, but
you seen him recently?
Yeah.
How does he look? Is he in shape?
He looks good.
Okay. Oh, good.
He looks good. He's sharp. He's healthy. He looks like he's got it all together. And I met him, like I re-met him WrestleMania weekend. I talked to him. We exchanged numbers. So I didn't have a personal relationship with him, but I was around him like I was around a lot of the guys when I was little. So super cool.
Yeah, I'm acquaintances with him. Like when I seen him at one memory that really sticks out, and I spoke about it on here before, is I'm a UFC. I spent my whole career in the UFC besides the amateur shows, but excuse me, I was originally going to be a Pride fighter. I was over in Pride. So at 25 years old, I was set to fight Joel Oliveira, some Brazilian lucha libre fighter. So I'm backstage, Bass Rutten did our interviews, and before I go out on the ramp, they had the ramps and stuff. The little Japanese lady's like, "Oh, be careful, the fireworks, the pyrotechnics come up."
Yeah.
You know? Do you know this story?
No.
Okay. So I'm waiting, and back then I used to walk to my fights with a gi on, and I'm waiting with Henzo, and waiting. All of a sudden, Mark Kerr runs over, right? And it's funny, because Mark Kerr's a big guy, but his voice is a little feminine. He's like, Henzo. He's a big, giant guy. This is back before USADA, too. And this Japan, he's huge. He's like, Henzo, it's horrible. You have to come quick. Like, Henzo's some doctor. My opponent went up. It must have been a language thing. He got lit up by the pyrotechnics.
Oh, my God.
45% of his body is, like, burnt. So Mark Kerr came and got Dr. Henzo, and they went and they got water and threw it on him. And so, yeah, man, the fight was off.
Oh, my God.
So then I was in shape, and I'm like, there's an old fighting, you might have heard these fights called hook and shoot.
Of course. Right?
Yeah, hook and shoot's popular. It was in Indiana. It was like a regional MMA scene. And at that hook and shoot, they were doing an 8-man tournament, and the winner it's grappling, and the winner goes to Abu Dhabi. It's ADC Invitational in 2000. So I go, Henzo, I want a spot in that. He goes, man, I know the prince. I'll bring you over there. And Henzo, I love Henzo, but Daniel?
Yeah.
It's not that you're not going to take his word for it, but he might forget. He might be sipping some papaya juice, and he might forget. So I go, Henzo, you know what? I'm in shape. So I took a road trip with Sean Williams, who's a well-known Jiu-Jitsu master now. He's, where the fuck is he now? Kansas City? Oh, anyway. But back then it was me, Sean Williams, Paul Creighton, Chad LeBron, all black belts now. We did a road trip from Manhattan to Indiana. And then I won that 8-man tournament, and that got me my thing to Abu Dhabi, and then the UFC noticed me from there. So it's weird the way that one mistake, or that guy stepping on that fireworks.
I was going to say, like, I thought just on I watched all your fights that were on pay-per-view growing up, and like I could have imagined you killing people in Pride. Like being with the head stomps.
Yeah.
You could just get up at a mount and stomp somebody out.
Oh man, those head kicks are brutal. The soccer kicks.
Yeah.
That never made its way to the UFC, but now UFC has mixed. They have that 12. The guys could mount, and I don't know if you ever saw. This is old school. UFC number 2, Scott Morris versus Pat Smith.
Oh yeah,
he mounted him,
smashed his face,
he elbowed his face to death. And Scott Morris was a ninja. He did ninjutsu
with a mustache,
with a mustache, an 80s type mustache. And he was fucking hoping to throw some vanishing bombs or something.
He was the one where the guy was caught on the side there and he was hitting him.
No. That's that was Big Daddy Goodrich.
Okay.
Versus
Paul Herrera.
Paul Herrera, that's right. Very good. Yeah. Paul Herrera is he's with Brian Ortega now. A tough guy. And listen, man, he shot in deep. Back then grappling was still, the almighty. But he got caught in a crucifix. I love the crucifix. I love the crucifix from Side Control. You don't even have to be great at submissions for an MMA fight. If you get them tied up there, like I said, guys could be flexible as heck, and they could put their legs behind their back, like BJ Penn. They get caught in that crucifix, it's lights out.
Yeah,
it's everything. It's a round winner or a fight ender. A lot of times.
Oh yeah.
What is besides the straight ankle lock, which you are proficient in? What are some of your favorites? Are you a Kimura Savage?
Of course I am.
You have to be a Kimura Savage. You have to love the Kimuras.
Yes.
Dude.
I guess I played a lot in. I saw Josh Barnett compete against Dean Lister, and I don't know the name of it, but from that position he hooked his head and he leaned back
like
and
a scarf hold.
Yes.
You know what's great with that is Marab.
Oh yeah.
And I don't like it, but this is funny. I don't like it because if you lose that head, they're on your back, you know? So I would tell Marab forever, abandon it. Don't do that shit. But he's tapping everybody out with it. He fucking taps everybody. I seen him go with guys that are doing the EBI, world-class guys his weight. He's tapping them out with it. So I'm like, hey, go do it. I'm not going to tell you. I just do it. Fucking do it. That's why you never say never. Because sometimes in jiu-jitsu, this works for this guy.
Yes.
You know, it's not always a cookie cutter. It molds to your body, you know, and not something might work for you that might not work for Christian.
Yeah. I mean, something I learned in my jiu-jitsu journey was like, depending on somebody's body frame, like that, certain things that might, you know, not be for you could be for them. Like, you know, you got a guy who's lanky with long legs. He might be able to triangle the whole entire room. You can't tell them don't always go for that. They know you're going for it. Some guys, like, I'll know certain people are going for something and they're so good that I might not be able to stop it. They just have that game of entering. They know where you're going to frame. As you're framing, you're feeding something. And it's a beautiful thing, man. Your game changes every person you roll with, and you grow from that.
It's every body type, I say, has its advantages and disadvantages. You know, you get long guys like Slim last night. Slim's a freak though. Jedi Slim is world class, and he's
100%.
His body's built for jiu-jitsu.
Yes,
because he takes my 300-pound brother-in-law and just fucking does what he wants. That guy's a freak.
I believe it.
But every body type, like me, I'm short. The guys with the long legs, their guards could be horrible for you to be in. But when I pass it, it's hard to get the space back. You know what I mean? Because I got a little body. Yet when I'm on bottom, I got my little limbs. They're always good to get in with my, you know what I mean? So every body type I feel has its you know, pros and cons.
For sure. Were you like a head and arm guy for a long time?
I love the head and arm choke.
I figured.
That's so funny you said that.
Because of your frame.
I'm going to show you a video after this where it was me on Unfiltered. You know Ari Shafir, the comedian?
Yep.
I'm going to show you too. He said he's very good at defending the head and arm choke. So he does the old, and it's called answering the phone, right? Yeah. So I go, dude, there's a way to defend this, the head and arm choke, but you have to bring this leg up and grab it around this. It opens up the carotid artery. You know what I'm talking about.
Daylight.
Yes. The whole head and arm choke, I go, dude, you put that on. Guess who's calling? The fucking Sandman's calling. That's who's calling, Ari. So I put that thing on. I said it to him. I put it on him, and he tried to do the answering the phone. And yes, I got the tap. I love the head and arm. I used to get that with 16-ounce boxing gloves.
Oh my God.
When I used to get ready for the fights, because you can't, this was before the MMA gloves, and I don't think I'd spar with those anyway because it becomes more playtime. With the 16-ounce gloves, you could fucking really punch. And my disadvantage where I can't make grips, it actually makes it harder because when I'm able to fight, I'm able to make these grips. I'd be shooting in up against the cage, I get underneath their butt, I'll lose it. But meanwhile, I get there so many times, it actually helps me. Yep. You know what I mean? But I would, with the 16-ounce gloves, where the fuck was I just saying with the 16-ounce gloves? What were we just talking about? What position? Oh, head and arm choke. Yes. With the fucking, by the way, Kevin knows I have ADD. Yeah. He doesn't judge me. You shouldn't either, my producer. But I get that 16-ounce gloves. I love that. Are you good with the head and arm choke?
Yes.
I could fucking see that. They're not doing that answering the phone shit with you.
No.
Oh, dude, the fucking devil's calling. You told me you got some things that would roundabout stories that might shock me or something, or surprise me.
Blindside you a little bit.
Go ahead, blindside me, man.
So everybody always asks me like a common question. Like they'll see my videos, tutorials or whatever about jiu-jitsu, and they've never done it. And they always ask me all these questions. But the most common question I get is like, the very first time I walk into a jiu-jitsu school, like, what do I say? How do I act? And I always tell people, like, just go in and be honest. Just tell them, hey, I don't know anything. I want to learn things. Go in and be humble. Because, like, when you've been doing jiu-jitsu for a long time and you've been, you know, out of school for a while, you see all different types of personalities come in. And so I had this, and I want to know what yours is because I know you've got a bunch, but I had this funny story about, like, this lunatic that came in one day. And basically, like, a bunch of my friends and I are at the school. Maybe I shouldn't say what school it was. It was a long time ago, but we had the green light system. So if a hothead comes in, the coach would tap me or another guy on the shoulder and be like, green light on him.
Okay.
So, which would basically mean, like, run him out of the place.
Yes.
Don't hurt him,
yeah,
but grind him out so he doesn't want to be here anymore. And so I walk in and my coach is coming up to me, and I'm assuming it's a green light because he had a weird look in his face. He goes, hey, he goes, Kevin, there's a new guy here today. You're going to know who he is as soon as you see him. Be nice to him. He has a lot of self-exploring to do. I said, of course I'm going to be nice to him. I don't give anybody a hard time. I'm not a bully. And he goes, yeah, but like when you talk to him, you'll see what I mean. I go, okay, now I have to see who it is.
Yes.
So I'm walking around the room, and it was a gi class. So he doesn't have a gi yet. And he's in white Under Armour from head to toe, like the tight thing here. He's roided out to the point where like his eyes are yellow. You know what I mean? He's getting jaundiced.
He's got the Power Ranger thing on, the whole outfit.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
And I go, hey man, Kevin, nice to meet you. And he's like, yeah. And I was just like, I've never met somebody before. They just don't even say hello back. Hi, how are you? Yeah. Gives you this look. Okay. He's, in the zone. I go, where have you trained? I know he hasn't trained anywhere. I just want to see what he's going to tell me. He's like, I trained all over the world. I've been in like 900 fights. Okay. It's this guy. You know what I mean? So I'm trying not to laugh. And my buddy Jimmy comes in. And we used to call him Stain Man because he always had stains on him. Like I remember that day he had a job interview, and he comes in and he's like, I don't think I got the job interview. I go, what happened? Put my dress shirt on, I had a stain on. I'm like, what's wrong with you? You didn't even eat anything? Like, how did you? So we also called him Stain Man because his belt was stained all the time. And I think he was washing it with like the Tide Pods, and sometimes we just had to break his balls about it. Like, why do you always have stains on you?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is going on here? So he claims he didn't do this, but I swear to God, that day, this guy's here, he walks in. He was a brown belt, and I think he tried to like clean his belt somehow. His belt went from like brown to like a dark orange. It looked hideous.
Okay.
So we started calling him Dark Orange Belt. So I say to the guy, knowing Jimmy's temperamental, I go, hey, you should roll with him over there. And he goes, who's that? I go, that's Stain Man, but just so you know, he's got a dark orange belt. And he goes, what level is that? I go, well, it's a special Japanese ceremony. It's after black belt. He's very good. So seeing as, you pretty much stopped the riot by yourself and fucking fought 900 people by yourself like Captain America, this is the guy you want to roll with. He goes, yeah, all right, I'll fucking go get him. So anyways, we grinded him out, and he wound up leaving. I think he was one of those guys who came in for the one day, but the thing at the school for a really long time became like, after black belt, you get your dark orange belt.
That's fucking hysterical.
For years, it followed around. We'd go, this guy's got a dark orange belt, 100%.
The martial arts breeds some whack jobs.
Yes.
For sure. Back in nowadays, we get them out of there, but we don't do it like we did back in the day. First of all, back at Henzo's first academy, when he was partnered up with Craig Kukoc, and he came over at 96, that was a different thing. That was like dojo challenges type stuff. Like guys in Manhattan, what was the worst? Was not so much the tough guys that didn't believe in it. It was the fucking traditional martial artist.
Really?
Back in the mid 90s, because they spent their whole lives doing this. And early on, when Jiu-Jitsu first came on, it was almost like everybody almost abandoned the striking. They go, oh my, these guys are just wiping out 3 skinny Brazilian guys, taking everybody out. So Jiu-Jitsu was such a phenomenon that everybody just kind of was like, forget the striking. So these guys that dedicated their life to the karate, this and that, they'd come into the academy on 27th Street, and I can't tell you how many arms I took. And it was, and it was really rightfully so. I mean, these guys, one guy tried to grab my fucking neck like at a roadhouse. And it was funny with Henzo because I was a kid still, so I didn't really understand. Like he was, like you said, there was like green light.
Yeah,
Henzo would be, work with him, my friend, Matt. And then I kind of picked up the message without him telling me. So then after I popped his arm, the guy screamed, and Henzo came over, Matt, you're supposed to take care of him, and this and that. I'm like, shit. I was like a little nervous. And then after he went behind his back, he's like, oh, that's good. I'm like, yeah. I go, fuck. I thought I got fucking in trouble, man. I'm like, oh man, I thought he wanted me to do that. So then from there on, I mean, it was just, it was a freak show back then. It was me, John Danaher, who's back. John Danaher was he came in, and back then he looked like a professional wrestler. Yeah. Because now he looks like something like a New Zealand Lex Luthor. That's what he looks like now. I don't know if you know who we're talking about. No. Very one One of the best minds in jiu-jitsu in the world. Yeah. He came up with me at Henzo's. But when I first met him, now all he does, he came to my wedding in a rash guard. All he wears is rash guards. You know about John, obviously. Yeah. So he came to my wedding in a rash guard, and he's a very odd duck where he was a Columbia professor in philosophy, and yet he was working night security at the Crane Club, being like the head bouncer type of thing. Very, very unique individual. He just hit me up the other day. He's getting a new knee. I got a goddamn new knee. How's your body stay intact?
I do a lot of recovery. I do cryo. I do the
you do ice baths.
Of course.
Dana loves those things.
Yeah, they're miserable. I don't like them, but they're effective.
What do you keep the water at?
I go to like a place that has it. I don't have one in my house. I haven't gone to that length
Dana
yet.
does 50, which doesn't sound the worst. I did it on the show on the Looking for a Fight.
You're miserable
episode. Yeah, it was hot. Well, that was on like 32 degrees. I'm like, for the first time doing it, I'm like, what are you doing? They're like, oh, it saves years of your life. I will give years of my life so I don't have to fucking do that again. It was torture.
It was terrible.
That 32 degrees, I'm like, oh, man, maybe you have to work your way up to that. But, woo. But I heard it just does everything for the inflammation and just helps you out.
Yep. I can get back to whatever my like baseline would be to train if I go and do that stuff. And then I'll do cryo, and then I'll do sauna back to back. And then I'm usually pretty good. Like if I'm shot from training or from ring or something, like I don't even need to take ibuprofen. If I can hit those back to back, I'm actually all right.
What's that? The ice bath and the
sauna. Yeah, big time for anti-inflammation.
Steam room is not the same thing?
I like the steam room better.
I do that you see my locker room upstairs? That room off to the side is my room with it's just a basic steam shower. Yeah. Fuck, do I love that thing. I melt in there, I shave my head, do some squats. You know what's nice about being 5'6"? I could do incline push-ups. You couldn't do that? No. I'm happy about being short. But I love my steam. And so you see in the locker room, right? I walk out of that, my corner room. Talk about knuckleheads. This was the last time I had something at my place. And this is how I handle them. I come in and there's a guy, he looked around late 30s. And he goes, oh my God. Oh my God. I can't believe it's you. And I'm like, oh, and I right away can tell the guy's a little off.
Yeah.
And I go, nice to meet you. But some guys could just be like watching the fights or fans and they just don't act. So I'm like, hey, nice to meet you. And I was walking out the door. I had to do something with my kid for dancing. And he goes, he's like, I go, oh, so you're trying it out today? He's like, I just need a shot. I'm lightning in a bottle. I'm lightning in a bottle. They're yelling. I go, hey, man, you got to take it down a notch. He goes, I only got one shot. I can't believe I'm meeting you. Dude, he was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So I go, look, let me tell you something. I go, this is a jiu-jitsu school. I go, this is what I want. I go, you want to fight? I go, you ever hear of Ray Longo? I sent that motherfucker right to Ray Longo's. Oh,
did he go to Ray Longo's?
Oh, late. Now this is funny. This is later on. Yeah, listen. I told him to go to Ray's. Later on, they do weigh-ins at Ray's for the Lou Neglia events. And my wife just had a kickboxing match. You know, she's a kickboxer, and she had an MMA match at 40. She's amazing. But so I'm there at the weigh-ins, and this guy comes up to me like, hey, and he was a little bit more reserved. And he goes, I want you to thank you for, sending me here. And I'm like, oh, fuck, it's the moron. I didn't realize. I'm like, holy shit, it's lightning in the bottle. But, yeah, so we still get them from time to time. I just send them the Longos.
Yeah, that's hilarious. They get punched out and they go home.
I was this close when I first opened up I was at the school you were at, which is my palace. I love that school. I used to have two schools. Pandemic took one. Best thing that ever happened to me. I got one place now. I love it. I was at the shopping center next door in a storefront, and I upgraded to this one because a gym went out of business, and it's a great spot. When why the fuck am I bringing this up? What was I just talking about?
you went from the you went lightning from a bottle.
Yeah, and then I got into I got into my new school.
Yeah.
I'm back. So don't edit anything.
I'm not. I like watching the journey go.
No, because I'm back. So when I first was listen to this, Kevin. So I spent all this money. I won the title, and now I'm building this school, and I got these cards made up. And I was going to call it Sarah MMA. Fuck, I was champion of the world in MMA at the time, and it's a nice spot there. They'll see that. That'll build in bringing a lot of people. Dude, I threw away a shitload of fucking Christmas cards because I fucking changed it to Sarah BJJ. It's a different I don't want, don't get me wrong, I'll help. Right now, I got young Tommy DeGennaro, young Marcus. I got some kids under me that I'm going to help because I like them. But my dream is not to make the next champion. I got some champions. I you know what I mean? I know what I'm doing, but my motto, like I told you, I just like to make good people dangerous. That's what I like to do. More so than me wanting to make another champion, I want somebody, if they were in my position at that Red Rock Casino with their family and some drunk idiot starts with them, you know what I mean? I don't look like you, but I don't look like a pussy. So it's what, I mean, the guy, for somebody to do that in front of somebody's wife and kids, and if I did not know how to handle myself, everybody needs therapy. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yep.
If no, daddy's getting his ass kicked. I mean, Jiu-Jitsu is just a beautiful thing. So when I was going to make MMA, I was going to make it Sarah MMA. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to bring in a bunch of guys that want to be the next champ. First of all, nobody's got money. Fucking, that's another thing. And it's just, I don't want to just bring in fighters. I teach all walks of life. And you've seen that, you know?
Yeah, I love that.
It's fucking great.
I got to tell you this because I'm going to kick myself if I don't. You mentioned when you were world champion.
Yes.
Man, let me tell you the perspective of a person who was a fan of yours when you were doing all that shit. I'm a very big believer in giving people their flowers before they're fucking gone. I've lost a lot of friends over the last 5 years from illness and all kinds of shit, and this has been on my mind lately, and I promised myself I was going to tell you this story coming in here. I got to fucking tell this to you.
Please.
So I'm living up in, at the time, Toronto, Canada, and The Ultimate Fighter comes on, and it was the comeback.
Okay.
I told, bro, and it's not because we're both from New York. I told everybody you were going to win this fucking thing. I told everybody you were going to win this fucking thing. And, all my friends are breaking my balls. They're like, oh, no, it's going to be this guy. It's going to be that guy. And they're also teasing me because it's a New York thing.
That's funny.
Dude, when you won, and then you went on to fight St. Pierre, and I'm a fan of the both of you. By the way, I love the episode where the both of you guys got together. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Dude, when you won that fight, George. I was in a bar watching it. I went with my friends. I had my Brian Leach Rangers jersey on in Canada.
Oh, shit.
And when you fucking blew his head off, I stood up, and I'm not a guy who screams at the TV. I'm not that way at all. Like, I don't ever root against people watching fights. I just root for somebody to win. I don't root for, and I wasn't rooting for George to get hurt, but I was so happy you got to that moment. I stood up. The whole, mind you, I'm in Canada, the whole bar went silent when he started going down. And I got up and I went, fuck yes! So loud. The whole room turned around and looked at me. And I'm standing up, Rangers jersey on. My friends at the table, they're going, dude, that was very loud. That was very loud that you just did that. And I was like, fuck it, we'll fight everybody in here.
You go back to your bare knuckle days. Dude, dude, that makes me happy. I love hearing stories like that's amazing.
I'm going to tell you too, like, even being in Canada, and everybody was behind him with that. I hope somebody seriously comes to you and does like a movie or a show about your life, because I got to tell you something, dude. People make movies and write books about hope. I love the Rocky movies, but they're not fucking real. What you did was you inspired people. When you get a second chance, you knew you had something.
Yeah.
And the world is just that way. You could know that you have something, but unless you get an opportunity to prove it, it's like it doesn't even exist. You have to fucking hang on to that. I don't know how long it was that you hung on to that until you had the opportunity to get back on the show, run through those people, and then knock out the guy that was killing everybody.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, dude.
Thank you.
People watching you do that, I watched it. It changed people for the better. Like, even people who wanted George to win that I knew, they were just like, I can't hate on this. What this guy just fucking did, this is real. Like, this is a real hope story. I hope people take advantage of like the opportunity to like put your life story on screen or something, because like it sounds like I'm being melodramatic, but I'm telling you, like, you kind of like changed the world of like people who were watching that. Like, they began to like believe in that thing again.
They love the underdog. I always loved the underdog story.
Yes.
So when that, to me, was my story. Like I wasn't, I don't feel like not that I didn't want to be a dominant champion, but I lived my Rocky movie. And it was better than Rocky. So Rocky went the distance.
Yeah.
Right? It was actually more dynamic. But Listen, the Ultimate Fighter. First of all, thank you, man. That was very nice, very nice. I appreciate that. The Ultimate Fighter 4 was an opportunity that literally just changed my life. It does. I know there's another season coming up. That show's amazing, you know, and it led to that title fight, which was obviously life changing. We're still, I don't know, man. It's almost 2007 is when that happened. I mean, think about it. People were still talking about it only because George is that great. And what a great guy George is.
He's the man.
I wish he was like Frank Trigg. I wish I could just brag about knocking him out. I don't, you know. I take shots at Frank Trigg, and I did it on Joe's show the other day only because they brought him up as a ref. I'm like, yeah, he's a fat ref. I'm not a mean guy at all, but I like to bully bullies a little bit. Same. I remember after I beat Frank Trigg, I was very cool to him. I'm not a bad winner. He's not a good winner, but I was a good winner. We had some stuff leading up to it, but, you know, I was a good winner. He asked me for Alaya Quinta, the great Alaya Quinta. If anybody needs a house on Long Island, go to real estate. He's great. Great real estate guy, too. You know Alaya Quinta?
Of course.
Phenomenal fighter.
Yeah.
I love Al. Where was I?
Frank Trigg.
Thank you. You know, he asked me, hey, Matt, you know, can I have Al's number? And Al was kicking ass at the time. He's like, I want him for my podcast. I go, sure, Frank, go ahead. So he has him on the podcast. And then now look, I am 185 now. I've been on the mats a lot. I fluctuate. I used to be a meatball. So I got up to 230 at one point. What? So, yeah, I'm big. Yeah, I was big. I know. He couldn't even hold it in. He was just like, what?
Wide as a door or what?
I was a meatball. It was bad. It was bad, Kevin. So, you know, and when you're going through it, it doesn't feel good. When people bring it up, you get irritable. You're like, shut up. You got the double chins and shit. But anyway, so I give him the number, and then he tells Al before he leaves the show, he's like, all right, thank you. Well, hey, tell the beer keg I said hello. Well, fuck is that? Really, motherfucker? And so since then,
Right.
I just, dude, bang, 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 every time I...
Should get him on the show.
Nah, we probably could get him on here. I don't think he's got much going on. No, but he's a nice guy. He's all right. I just have fun. I like to have fun. Oh, shit. All right. Hey, man, what else, buddy? Listen, this is a blast. This is not the last time this is happening.
It better not be.
And it's funny because, dude, you're funny. You're like, I forgot it was Valentine's Day, man, because he's got to get back home.
Yeah,
he's like, dude, you get so used to being on and off those planes, huh?
Yes. You lose track of the dates. And like, my wife and I travel for a living, so we kind of spoil each other quite a bit on the road. So like back when we were just, because she was a cocktail waitress, I was a bouncer. Not that we met there, but we were nightlife people.
Yeah.
Before we were wrestling for WWE, when these days came around, they were a bigger deal because this was the time of the year where you get something special and it's a gift and you really, you know what I mean? You drive it in. But we kind of do that randomly for each other all the time. We take care of each other on the road. Somebody's a driver, somebody's sleeping, somebody does the hotels, somebody does the flights. So we take care of each other and surprise each other with more stuff more frequently. So the Valentine's Day thing is not that big of a deal. We're still going out. Yeah. We're still got reservations. Yeah. We're still doing all that. But it just was not at the forefront anymore.
Nah, I hear you. It gets wild. You've been with your wife a long time?
Yeah, we've been together going on 7 years.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I've been married, what is it, almost 17 years or something? It's crazy. Well, I've been with my wife for the 20 years. So every there's only so many surprises you can get. Yeah. But look what I did. She's not going to see this till after, if she even watches. But, she always wanted to do the race car stuff, So I planned on doing something in Vegas. Dana knows somebody, this and that. But now they're doing something over at Nassau Coliseum.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah. So it's right here in Long Island. So I got this thing set up where she's going to do that and drive some... I had one of the girls that worked for me write it up, and it's like, I want you to go fast, like the Ricky Bobby shit. So she's gonna go ride some cars for Valentine's Day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a nice gift.
Sweet, you brought up Nassau Coliseum. I was 2 seconds. It's 3 minutes from my house. I was 2 seconds away from going Saturday Night's Main Event when I was there.
That was a good one.
It was a good one. Yeah. So Saturday Night's Main Event was like a big thing when we were growing up as wrestling fans. Jesse Ventura was like one of the main announcers, and they brought it back. And they brought it back to Nassau Coliseum, and I was like, I almost snuck out of the house that night and went because it was like 2 minutes, but it was a great event.
That was, I cornered Chris Weidman there when he head and arm choked Kelvin Gastelum, and that was the one place that I wanted to fight, even more so than MSG.
Yeah, it's got a good vibe. It's a good vibe.
Oh shit, yeah. All right. Hey, listen. What a good time, man.
Yeah.
I had a fucking blast.
Same.
I know you got to get to the airport. I don't know. I'm going to Taglia's after this.
Got it. I just had it last night, but it's good.
All right. Yeah. I know you got to go. If you get next, and then we'll make a rain check for next time to get this pizza with me afterwards.
I'm down.
Dude, they get this. They get the flour imported from Italy. And I'm telling you, it makes a difference.
Really
it doesn't affect my belly the same way.
That's because there's no glyphosate in it.
The fucking glyphosate.
Glyphosate's making everybody sick.
Is that what it is?
Yep. So when we go to Europe, we never get sick eating the food. We don't get tired.
The Italian food there. How's the stupidest question I'm ever gonna ask? How's the Italian food in Italy? Just do me a favor. Put me in an Achilles lock right now. Fucking stupidest question ever. But I know. But Dana, how about this? Dana doesn't go near it. The call, all that stuff. Lorenzo Fertitta said, "All right." He convinced him to eat when he was there. He said he came back lighter. And he was eating pizza and pasta and all that shit.
I believe it. My wife is, she has a gluten allergy, so she can't go near any of it when she's here in the United States. But when we go to Europe on tour, she can literally eat anything she wants, and there's no problem.
Taglia's, Mineola train station. Dude, right?
It's delicious. It's really good.
Rob, I'm coming over there. That guy hooks me up too. He's such a sweetheart. Hey, dude, first of all, this was a fucking blast, man. I had such a great time. You're really a great guy, man. I think we're becoming BFFs. Listen, next time you're in town, dude, come by the school again.
I will.
Come in the studio again, and do a podcast too if you get any extra time. You're fucking good.
Thank you, man. I would love to. I need some assistance.
Let me know. Let me know.
Anything you want to plug or no?
WWE's on Netflix now. So Monday Night Raw is the show that I'm on. It comes on at 8 p.m. It's a very big deal. We went from cable television over to streaming services. Now there's countries all over the world that can watch it. So,
when did that happen with the Netflix?
Happened at the beginning of January. Actually, January 6th was when we moved over. It was the very first episode of Monday Night Raw. So viewership is through the roof. Now, there's countries in the world that just have never been able to watch wrestling. They didn't have distribution. Now they can watch it. It's more global than ever now.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
That's a big thing with the Netflix. I wonder how long before the UFC goes over there.
I bet you it's any minute. It's all owned by Endeavor, right?
Yeah.
That is wild.
Yep. Same umbrella.
And that movie to keep an eye out for and I know it's going to hit the independent.
It's going to be called Blue Evening.
Blue Evening?
Yep.
And that's something you to get into more, doing more of the movies and
I
stuff
would
like that?
love to.
You just love the cinema?
I love the cinema, and also like for the first time to be able to produce something, just being able to captain my own ship and not necessarily just be an actor where you're married to a script. It felt really good. Being able to just kind of like work with people and improve everything and have a vision and be able to bring that to life. It felt really, really good.
When could I see that? When is that movie coming out?
I'm going to send it to you. It should be ready in 2 weeks. The last thing I had to do was attach the credits to it, and that's it. The movie's pretty much done.
Fucking A. Awesome, man. The great Karrion Kross, dude, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Hit the
man.
applause button
It's
for
on
him.
there. We'll plug it in.
All right. Stay humble yet dangerous. Thanks, everybody.